Welcome to the next Show Day podcast season preview. This season preview is for Music City, who hail from Nashville, Tennessee. They are a three-time DCI semifinalist. This upcoming season will be their second season in DCI's World Class Division. Last season, it was pretty much their best season ever, jumping into World Class, a very strong show design that I'll go into a little later, but they finished 21st at semifinals with a 78.175, and they look to make ginormous gains over the next coming years. So, Music City is one of the cores that'll get a little bit of a later start, not drastically like we're seeing from some cores, but really just a little bit of a later start, get a few more days of spring training in, transition into your first show. Their first show will be in Evansville, Indiana, Drums on the Ohio on June 24th. And really, if you look throughout this schedule, I'll get to it at the very end, but they're kind of going up against the same cores, and those same cores are cores that are not in their competitive range. Evansville, they will be last, but it'll be interesting to see the margin between them and, let's say, Spirit or Phantom or Crossman, whoever's the lowest of them. It'll be interesting to see how close they can pull to them. But I honestly think that we won't get a very accurate competitive read on them until midway through July, maybe even going into the San Antonio. We still might not have a perfect, accurate look at Music City's competitive state. So after Evansville, they'll come east then. They'll be in Pittsburgh, Allentown. They'll go up to Massachusetts for 2 shows to round out June, that is, start July. And then they'll be at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey on July 2nd. Then they'll go down south with some of these other cores they've been with, Crown Beat on July 5th, and then DCI Orlando on July 6th, which will be our first event that Music City will be at on Flow Marching. So as I said, after they're down here in the southern portion, the southeastern portion of tour and of the United States, they'll then kind of do what you're seeing from some other cores. Crown, the Bluecoats, I believe, are also down there, and a few others. They're kind of just going to go up all together then. You've got 2 Drums Across America shows in Atlanta and Valdosta. Then July 11th, Drums Across the Smokies in Knoxville, Tennessee. Then kind of the first premiere, second, I guess you could say Orlando's a premiere event, but the second premiere event they'll be at is DCI Memphis on July 13th, which, again, if you look at who they're going up against here, it's not that strong for them because really all throughout here, let's take Memphis. They're with Vanguard, Crown, Boston, Spirit, and then there's them, and then there's Jersey Surf. So still we're not getting this incredibly accurate read on them. Then after Memphis, they'll go to Bentonville, Arkansas for Music on the Move. This show here could be interesting for their competitive standing, but I still look farther along because I don't necessarily think they'll be up with Madison and the Academy, though it probably will be or is our first look at those cores all together. This is the show I'm kind of circling for Music City as kind of our first look at them, and that is DCI Central Texas and Belton. Overall, I use this kind of analogy or comparison, I guess you could say, last year. And the comparison I made was Belton is like, and you'll probably hear me say this again if you watch my podcast later on this season when I'm going over that show. This show is not like like think of it as a college football game. It's not Alabama and Clemson. It's not 2 12-0 teams, but it's 2 4-6 teams or 4-8 teams. Like It's kind of a weak lineup. It is a pretty weak lineup. There's not one finalist from last year at the show, but there's good battles within, even though not only is the lineup very small, the strength of it is very small. It's actually worse than last year. The reason I would look at this show to say this is their first competitive look, or first big thing that we can compare Music City to, is they go up against Genesis at this show. And then in San Antonio, that's when we'll really get our first look at them. That is when they'll go up against Pacific Crest and all these cores around them in maybe even I think they'll be up contending with the Troopers as the season goes on. But it'll just be interesting to see where they fit in, no doubt. So after San Antonio, I know I've taken a lot of time talking about their competitive state, but now they eventually blend in. It takes a month, though, so really we won't be able to see how strong Music City's scores are compared to others until then. July 22nd, after San Antonio, they'll be in Lafayette, Louisiana, and then DCI, Arkansas on July 24th. So then their kind of final push. They don't have a ton of shows at the end of the season. July 26th, 27th, 2 more shows. Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the Masters of the Summer Music Games on July 26th. And then the Southeastern Championship on July 27th. Then after that, Music City will go up to Centerville, Ohio for Soaring Sounds on July 29th. Start off August in Rome, New York with Drums Along the Mohawk. They'll come down to Allentown for DCI East on August 2nd. That's Friday night. August 5th then, Lake Erie Fanfare in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. And then they'll round out their season August 8th through the 10th with the DCI World Championships in Indianapolis. So the 2019 drum majors for Music City are Patrick Nelson, Josh Hecht, and Parker Shepard. The main staff for Music City, this is a somewhat lengthy list, but I'll try to get through it in the most sufficient way as possible. So Joe Roach is core director. He's been with the Cavaliers for the past few seasons now, joins Music City this season. Tracy Carter is the program coordinator and color guard caption head. She is currently an assistant band director in Madison, Mississippi, marched 3 seasons with Spirit of JSU, which is now Spirit of Atlanta, and 1 season with Phantom Regiment. Paris Foreman is brass caption head. Chris DeBerry is percussion caption head. This is his 9th season with Music City. He's a current middle school band director in Tennessee and a judge in Tennessee band contests, indoor percussion contests, and also U.S. bands. Amanda Deloisio is assistant color guard caption head. She's the current band director at West Oak Middle School in South Carolina and also works with Etude Winter Guard. Nathan Barna is visual caption head. Tommy Keenum is the artistic director for the corps. He's a Nashville-based singer, songwriter, and instrumentalist. In 2000, he left his successful career in the visual arts and designed to become a full-time musician, now back in that role with Music City. And finally, here on this part of the list, Robert W. Smith is brass arranger. He's one of the legendary composers and arrangers in the marching arts. The second part of the list of the main staff members, first we have Jake Columba. He's a color guard choreographer. He marched with Carolina Crown and the Bluecoats during his time marching, and also marched multiple WGI groups, including Pride of Cincinnati. Currently works with the WGI color guard Scholastic Open World Champions Fishers High School from Indiana, and also currently works with the Boston Crusaders, of course, in DCI. Michael O'Neill is color guard choreographer as well. He worked with Tompkins High School Winter Guard from Texas and also Eclipse Winter Guard. Austin Green is a design consultant. He's a current judge for BOA and WGI. He was the visual caption head for the Cadets from 2012 to 2015, former director of bands at Concord High School in North Carolina, and current director of bands and performing arts department chair at Durham School of the Arts. Greg Guffey is drill writer. Matt Pedland is one of the two percussion arrangers. The other percussion arranger is Tyler Sammons, who's the current percussion director at Westlake High School in Texas, kind of an up-and-coming program in BOA, UIL, just an up-and-coming program at that. And Sammons also works on the instructional staff with Santa Clara Vanguard and is a graduate of the University of North Texas and marched Phantom Regiment and the Crossmen. Finally on this list, Josh Starkey is the Music City sound engineer. Music City's 2019 production is entitled Of Mice and Music. This show is bound to be a fun show, as we've, at least from last year, come to expect from Music City. And if there's one thing I'm worried about with Music City, and I don't think I should be, but I kind of am, it is them getting the Genesis syndrome from last year. Genesis, first year World Class, comes out with a crowd-pleasing production. The Pure Imagination show that was a very well done show. Then last year kind of takes a step back design-wise, and I don't want that to happen to Music City, because everybody came to know and love them last year. They had the Hell on Wheels, The Final Journey of Casey Jones show. The Corps came running out of the tunnel like the train. It was a very fun production to watch, and the music was recognizable, and the music could connect to everybody, and it was just a good show. Now, the one thing you might ask is, well, even if you have a very crowd-pleasing production, how does that show up on the recaps? And recaps are something I'll of course go into more and more as the season goes on. But for Music City's point, or for the point I'm making for Music City here, is when you have a crowd-pleasing production, there's still a little bit of something from the judges that's like, okay, I kind of like this show. I'm going to look at the recap real quick for Music City last year. I'm just going to highlight all of the main points, like the overall general effect score, all that. So Music City, they were 21st overall in general effect, which really crowd-pleasing production contributes to general effect a lot. Yes, you think there's visual parts of it and musical parts of it, but really, if you have a very good storyline that you're pushing, that really shows on the general effect front. But last year it really didn't that much for Music City. They still finished half a tenth behind Pacific Crest for 20th place in general effect. Going over to visual now, visual proficiency, visual analysis, 20th and 21st, and then color guard, that was a bit of a struggle. They'll have to improve there this year. They were 22nd, overall visual score of 21st, still a little bit behind Pacific Crest here, a few tenths back because of mainly that color guard score. You go over to music, and this is, I mean, they didn't have any area where they were incredibly strong. It was just kind of a culmination of them just being 21st kind of in everything. But Music City, they were 21st in brass. Overall, if you average the music analysis scores, pretty much were 22nd in that. And then go over to percussion, and they were 22nd. So overall music, that's something they'll have to improve on. Being 22nd, they'll have to improve upon that this year. I honestly think they can jump up. I just don't know how far they can jump up. And I've seen people saying, watch out for them on the top 12 bubble. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't think that's realistic. I think if you're talking about realistic expectations for Music City this year, you're talking about top 15. And that's not even expectations. That's more of like a goal or or kind of like a half of a prediction. So, That's all I got for Music City. They haven't released a ton about their show yet. It'll be interesting to see how that show develops over the season, with it looking to be another very fun and crowd-pleasing production. It seems like the kids are enjoying performing it from what I've seen on social media so far. So that's all I got. Just a few things. Make sure to visit my website, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com, for all the latest updates from the DCI and DCA summer tours. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DrumCorpGeek, and subscribe to the Show Day podcast on YouTube, where this and more podcasts as the season goes on will be posted. And final thing, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything about Music City, maybe you know something I did not mention in this podcast that you feel would be valuable for viewers to know, please leave in the comments section below or wherever you're viewing this podcast. So thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.